Is Bangladesh in turmoil again?
Former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. She's facing charges of crimes against humanity.
The Special Tribunal has found the deposed Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina guilty of crimes.
Former Prime Minister of Bangladesh Sheikh Hasina has been sentenced to death.
Why the ex-PM has been sentenced to death? And most importantly, what it means for India and Bangladesh relations, and also what are the global implications. A former Prime Minister has been sentenced to death and our neighbouring country is yet again in turmoil. This Sheikh Hasina verdict is not just a legal decision, it is going to send geopolitical shockwaves across the globe and India cannot ignore it. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to discuss in detail that why this verdict is something important for India to consider and understand how they need to revamp their policy with special reference to Bangladesh. So let us begin with understanding that what exactly is the verdict and what is it about. So for that we have to go back to 2024 where there was a student-led uprising. So this uprising was basically because of the civil service quota policy that was brought in and students protested in very violent ways. And this protest spread across the nation and in no moment it became anti-government. Now once it became anti-government, the violence escalated. As per the international reports, it led to almost 1400 deaths and it was the administration which was accused of using drones, helicopters and live fire on the civilians. So you can understand the level of chaos and turmoil we are talking about in a country. Now, this directly led to collapse of the political order and the Sheikh Hasina government, the government which was led by the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, that toppled off. In this situation where Sheikh Hasina could have been targeted, she left her country and came to India. Now in this situation, India might have given residence to Sheikh Hasina, but this has larger implications. Now after this violence, then came in the situation of trial. Now this trial was undertaken by the interim government which is under Muhammad Yunus as of now. Muhammad Yunus is the Nobel Prize winner and as per this government what was done was unjust and then they came up with a trial which is being conducted by International Crimes Tribunal of Bangladesh. There were multiple charges which included crimes against humanity, extrajudicial killings, use of lethal force, incitement and failure to prevent killings. And as a verdict came yesterday itself, Sheikh Hasina was found guilty and she was sentenced to death with her home minister. And this is where Bangladesh government now has gone ahead and labelled Hasina as a fugitive. And in this situation, once this labelling has been done, Bangladesh is formally asking India to make sure there is extradition of Sheikh Hasina from our country. And this is where the real foreign policy test for India begins. Now when we are talking about implications for India, let us understand a little bit more about this whole situation, what it will unfold in Bangladesh, then we can correlate it to what will happen or what are the implications that we need to understand for India. So when we are talking about consequences of this decision, we have to understand most importantly that it will have a lot of impact, be it political, be it economic. In terms of political impact, this is going to mark the end of 15-year Awami League dominance. Sheikh Hasina was not just a one-time Prime Minister. She has been on that position for more than once. Can you tell me in the comment section for how long Sheikh Hasina has been Prime Minister of Bangladesh? And she is the daughter of the person who brought liberation to Bangladesh. So Awami League's dominance and presence pretty much is gone away. And this will automatically lead to rise of new political players, and we cannot also go away of the possibility that the chaos, especially the uncertainty around law and order, will remain, because the protesters, the opposition, which have different says here, will come out with their own perspectives in this situation. Apart from the political impact, there is no other way of saying this. There will be institutional impact as well, because we can expect that judiciary will be under scrutiny. The legitimacy of upcoming elections is absolutely tied with the transition that Bangladesh is going into. Governance, the interim government has been tasked with free and fair elections expected in 2026, and we cannot rule out the possibility when this student-led protest broke out and it went nationwide, there were foreign involvements as well. So where this might lead up to in such a chaotic state is still questionable, and this will already have a direct economic impact. There will be short-term instability, investors would not be too confident, long-term prospect of any sort will require stability and reform credibility as well. And most importantly for India here, especially the infrastructure projects, they might be delayed as there is no finality, no stability that we can understand as of now. Now coming to the part when we are talking about a neighboring country in such huge chaos, it becomes a magnet point for others to come into India's own backyard, be it China, be it Pakistan and others as well. I am talking about Turkey here, which has recently signed a very important defense deal with Bangladesh. Pakistan has done military training in Bangladesh, which has been unprecedented. So it leaves a vacuum where others would like to fulfill. Now in this situation, when we want to understand the implications for India, the first thing we have to understand here is that Sheikh Hasina's government was pro-India. So the relationship between these had benefited India and Bangladesh all together as a unit itself. So there were bilateral benefits involved. So when we are talking about Sheikh Hasina itself, we have to understand that she was very important to India and what the India-Bangladesh relation looked like back in her time. So we saw strong cooperation in her times, be it for security, border management, energy trade, connectivity. Multiple projects have been signed and there was a stable pro-India leadership which was present in the neighborhood, which was very much eminent given the amount of security threat that could emerge. Furthermore, it basically reduced cross-border infiltration because Bangladesh was regularly cooperating and it put India in a position where it had strategic counterweight, especially against China. Now, once Sheikh Hasina's government and her political party is out of dominance, is out of presence for now, all of this is not on the table. Because in the recent times, when we see Muhammad Yunus's led government, the stance has been more towards anti-India than towards pro-India. Now let us understand in what position India is left now. India is left in a position of dilemma because India has had very important ties with Sheikh Hasina. At this point of time, helping Sheikh Hasina would make India go against Bangladesh itself. So India has to very importantly balance their old ties with Hasina, but at the same time work with the new government which is present there. And also make sure the regional stability is present because any sort of problem here will leave again a vacuum and we know there are foreign players which would like to happily fill this place. Other than that, amidst all this, it is also important when we are talking about India as a leader in this situation, it has to look into human rights situation, it has to look into the extradition pressure that is coming from Bangladesh, and Bangladesh will definitely lobby other countries as well on its very side. So this is where India needs a lot of balancing in this particular situation. Other than that, there are other concerns, for example, the extradition demand itself. Bangladesh, as of now, just after the verdict, has labelled Sheikh Hasina as fugitive, and they have demanded India for the extradition. In this situation, India has to look into the proper legal grounds, it has to look into the domestic political sensitivity as well, and most importantly, what can be the consequences at the diplomatic level. And if we let alone the side the external factors, we have to look into the internal factors as well, because this has some security concerns involved. Because once there is extreme unrest in Bangladesh, there will be an automatic influx of migrants in the neighbouring state, be it West Bengal, be it Assam, or be it Tripura. And we cannot afford yet another new refugee influx when we are already dealing with many, be it Rohingyas or others. In this situation, it becomes important for us to also look into the fact that what this verdict means for India, what it brings. So the first thing we have to understand, what strategically will change. What are the things that has strategic stakes? First thing that comes in order is to understand that the Bangladesh's foreign policy will automatically tilt, and we have seen that tilt in recent times, because any pro-Indian move by Bangladeshi government will not be taken very well by the students, because they are connecting it with Sheikh Hasina directly. So in order to counterbalance the presence of India, they might move closer towards China. It will also hamper our existing rail, road or sea-based connectivity projects as well as energy projects. And this is the time that India would need to start from scratch again, rebuild the trust with the new authorities which will come in place. But this leaves us with an opportunity where we have the chance to reset all the relations on a broader and people-centric agenda rather than a public figure or a politician's based agenda. And if everything goes well, it is also an opportunity where India will be able to put in its role or increase its role as a regional leader which has facilitated in maintaining the regional peace itself. Another important thing that needs to be discussed here, that what India needs to watch out for in the long term. So first is definitely the extradition request that has come out, and whether India hands over Sheikh Hasina or decides to go for a proper political asylum in this situation. Second, how elections in Bangladesh unfold, what is the amount of credibility, what is the amount of participation and violence level as well. And focus on internal stability. So for example, if we talk about Sheikh Hasina supporters, how will they be mobilized? Could Bangladesh see more unrest? And what this turmoil might bring in terms of foreign participation as well. Other than that, India also in the long run needs to look for geopolitical realignment, because it's not just China but US, EU, how they respond to this situation, how they are deciding to participate or not to participate on the behest of India, and what is Bangladesh's position, especially where we are talking about the Indo-Pacific strategy. And the most important thing that will be on lookout for, that how India decides on its strategic move, be it human rights, be it the immigrants, be it the cooperation with Bangladesh in terms of regional connectivity. Now, what do you all think? Let me know in the comment section. On this note, I'll be leaving you with a practice question here. You can put down your answers in the comment section. I'll be revealing the answer in the upcoming videos. Now, telling you the answer for yesterday's question. The question was about India's position in global agricultural trade. The correct answer here is C. That was all for today. Thank you so much.